very rarely makes mistakes. And to be world champion, that is one of the things you need to have in you, that you rarely make mistakes. I mean, look at Lando Norris. I think Lando Norris could have done a lot more, but he made too many mistakes. I think he's fast, he has the talent, everything, but just made too many mistakes. And that is one of the things you need to overcome. And there's 2 guys or 3 guys out there which are very good at that. Is Alonso, Lewis, and Max Verstappen. They're the 3 best drivers.
Hi everyone, thank you all for being here. It's great to see a packed chamber. Guenther Steiner is a prominent motorsport engineer, pundit, and former team principal of Haas Formula 1 F1 team, known for his leadership and candid style in the racing world. Originally from Italy, Steiner worked with several major teams, including Jaguar Racing and Red Bull Racing, before joining Haas in 2014 to establish and lead his F1 team. Whilst team principal, Steiner gained a following for his straightforward approach and media presence, as featured in the Netflix series Drive to Survive, which has expanded his profile globally and in some ways made him a face of the sport. Can everyone please give me a big hand and join me in welcoming Guenther Steiner? So Guenther, thank you so much for being here today. We really appreciate it. I want to start with a question. You've been very vocal since leaving Haas about some of the challenges that you face, especially with the team owner. So I want to ask, the Haas F1 team and the Aston Martin F1 team, they're both owned by very wealthy individuals in the form of Gene Haas and Lawrence Stroll, respectively. But I think it's fair to say, and this is not against you, that the 2 teams have followed pretty different trajectories, right? Aston Martin was fighting for podiums last year, whereas Haas has been pretty consistently only fighting for points. So how would you say Lawrence Stroll's and Gene Haas's approaches to the F1 teams differ? And do you think that's had a tangible impact on the performances of the 2 teams?
First of all, thanks for having me, and it's an honor to be here. Thank you guys for listening to me. And now coming to your question, I think the best way to explain it is Lawrence Stroll, he has got one mission. He wants to win World Championship. And we need to say also, he has a car company which he wants to bring up, Aston Martin, the road cars. And he wants to do that with a program in Formula 1. Therefore, he invests a lot of money into it. I mean, he built a new facility in Silverstone, new wind tunnel, everything there. Alonso as a driver has now an engine contract with Honda, which means he's a works team. You know, they've got a works engine. They're not a customer engine anymore, like they're now with Mercedes. And Lawrence is just keeping on investing money. I sometimes wonder how long he can do it, but you know, in the moment he doesn't stop. You know, so that means he has got lots of money still to invest. For him, the only thing what he sees is success, and he tries to find success by keeping on investing. Different approach by Haas. Gene Haas doesn't believe in investing. He thinks investing means spending money, which is a big difference. Investing is there should be something back. Spending, nothing comes back, you know. And Gene wants to do it at a different level. And Gene Haas is actually happy to become 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, you know, in Formula 1, as you said, just to get a few points. And that is the biggest difference. And obviously, I don't know how much money Gene Haas is happy to invest, how much money he has got, but his philosophy is, I'm not spending money, you know, and I want to be in Formula 1, but for me, it is not like, I'm not doing everything what I can to be world champion. While Lawrence Stroll, obviously, he wants to be world champion. I mean, and Lawrence Stroll is attracting big sponsors like Aramco, and they bring a lot of money to the table. So it's a complete different approach, but you're right. If you just, Aston Martin last year, were on the podium. Haas was never on the podium. The best what Haas can get in the moment is getting in the points. But you know, everybody can do what he wants to do with his money. You know, so I cannot say Gene Haas is wrong and Lawrence Stroll is right. Everybody does what he wants to do, and everybody what he wants to achieve can decide himself how far he wants to go. And obviously, Lawrence Stroll wants to go further and therefore invest more money. And Gene Haas is happy to make points.
And I want to kind of ask about one of the difficulties of being in a team that is fighting for points. While you were team principal, the team did go through some difficult times in terms of results, finishing 8th in 2022 and 10th last year.
Last.
Yeah. I was trying to take the edge off it, but if yeah.
Just be brutal.
Last.
Just be brutal.
So how did you deal with the criticism that came your way when the team wasn't doing well? And now that you're out of that situation, do you think you received too much or too little criticism for your role?
I think how you deal. I mean, when you are in this position, you know what you're doing, and you know that you shouldn't get any praise for it, but you still try to do your best, and it's not only the best what people see. You try also to do your best in making the team stronger, and you don't do that in public. So you need to be okay with yourself. You know, if people say something negative about you, you need to live with it. I became a public persona, basically, you know, and we all like to get praise from the press, you know, publicly. We all love that. But if you get praise, you need to be prepared that you get also critique, you know, and it's part of it. And I always say to people, if you're not prepared to be able to take, to be criticized, you shouldn't be in these positions. You shouldn't be doing it, you know, because it's part of the job, you know, like, obviously, everybody likes to be loved and everything, but it is what it is. Sometimes you have to live with it, and how you try to always fix it. But in my case, it was not anymore in my control to fix it. You know, obviously last year, our car, I must admit, in the beginning of the year, we made, I wouldn't say a mistake. We found out that we were going down the wrong way, you know, and stopped developing that car because we couldn't find any performance. But we always worked on something positive, you know, going forward, because that's also the only way to motivate your team. You need to tell the team, how can we get out to be last, you know? This is what we are doing, you know, and it will get better. And that is what you need to tell people realistically, what you're doing about it and how you're doing it. Then they believe and keep on pushing to get better, you know, otherwise they stop. They say, I mean, if nobody cares if you become last, then why should I care? You know, so as a leader, you need to do that.
That's great. And so you were with Haas for quite a considerable amount of time. If you were appointed in 2014, so this would have been your 10th year. And you lived through the highs and the lows of Formula One with that team. So how did your period as team principal change you actually as a person? And how has also being out of that environment now changed you as well?
I got a lot more gray hair, or white hair, you know, that period. I mean, as you said, Haas was always, the highs were high and the lows were low. It was always a roller coaster ride. And I think when we got off with a clear vision what we wanted to do, it was fantastic, you know, as a human being to be in that position, to be able to do that, to start a new Formula One team is something, I mean, you know, I would have never dreamt of in my life when I was young, you know, and there it was. And then obviously COVID came and changed our lives. I'm not feeling sorry for myself. It changed it dramatically, you know. The vision for the team changed because Gene Haas, his vision changed, and it was just like more like how can we do it with as little money as possible, this thing. And that is not something which motivates you. You always want to be efficient. You have to be efficient. It's one of the things you have to be, especially in Formula One with a cost cap in place. But you cannot be cheap, put it this way. You know, there's a difference between being efficient and cheap, you know. And it was difficult. And but I mean, I'm doing racing since motorsports since almost 40 years now. You never give up. You never give up. You believe in something and you always try to get the best out of it. And, you know, that's what I did. And now going to your second question, when it came to an end, for me, I was somehow relieved. I didn't have to take the decision myself to go away because this is not where I wanted to be anymore. Because when you're in it, you're just in this daily grind and you never get a clear vision. Or I never took the time to sit back and say, is this actually what I want to do in the future? And once you're out of it, because obviously you're not in anymore, you realize, actually, I should have done that before. I mean, now for me, I should have left Haas in 22, beginning to middle 22, when I didn't see any progress anymore, what I wanted to do, because, and I just kept on working hard and doing the best possible, but it was not something which fulfilled me anymore, because we were not going forward. We were treading water, and the best we could get to is, as you said in the beginning, getting points. That was our best we could get to, you know. So it's, you know, you just deal with it, and when you're out of it, I'm actually very relieved to be away with it. And but when I was there, I always tried my best, you know. And obviously, even if I would have all the resources which I wanted, I cannot assure that I would have used them good and we would have won. But at least I would have had the chance to do it, at least I was a level playing field with the other teams, and that I didn't have that opportunity, and therefore sometimes, or most of the time, one door closes, two open up, so the future is very good.
Yeah. And so you mentioned, not having the resources that you would have otherwise liked. When you were Haas team principal, did you ever feel jealous of, the front-running teams like Mercedes, Red Bull and Ferrari who have all those resources? And also, did you feel a bit jealous of people like Toto and Christian who got to lead those teams?
No, jealous is the wrong word. I was actually angry that I didn't have the opportunity they had, It makes me, I'm not jealous because, they put themselves in that position, so I need to respect that, And obviously, I couldn't, And in the end, I have to look at myself in the mirror and not be jealous because they've got a lot of money. It doesn't make me jealous. They did a good job and they deserve it, They put themselves in that position. So the only thing to do, instead of being jealous and spending time thinking about that one, what I always tried to put myself in the same position, working hard to get there. And unfortunately, I didn't.
Oh, sorry about that. I want to move to talking a bit about drivers now. So in terms of who you think is the best driver and your favorite to work with, could you, if you were willing, rank Kevin Magnussen, Nico Hülkenberg, and Romain Grosjean?
Well, it's almost like an exam here, I feel like, yeah. I think the best driver in the moment, I think we saw that one last weekend, who watched the race, we saw him winning, I think he's the best driver in the moment out there. Just talent and racecraft. It's just like mental strength, whatever he does, it is working in the moment. Max Verstappen, the best driver of all time. Sometimes it's like you always think that it's people which I didn't work with, I didn't even know. It's Ayrton Senna, I never met him, the guy, but everybody who worked with him talks greatly about him, and I think what he was the guy which brought Formula One a big step forward, the first one to really work hard for it and not only being a playboy and racing a car, not only maybe is the wrong word, but being part of playboy and racing a car. So I think I would have liked to work with him, and maybe if I would have known him, I wouldn't have that opinion about it, but I think he's one of the best. And ranking the three drivers, in which, how you mean, in over time, or
no, just Kevin Magnussen, the ones you worked with, Kevin Magnussen, Nico Hülkenberg, and Romain Grosjean.
I think they are, we start with Grosjean because it's the easiest one. I think Romain on a good day is one of the best drivers out there. Unfortunately, the good days, there are not enough of them, So it's like, it's very weird with him. On a good day, the guy can do anything with the race car, but when he has a bad day, it's a bad day, It's like, there's no doubt about it. This is a bad day or not? No, it is. Nico, I think very solid driver. I think he was always at the wrong place at the wrong time. He could have done a lot more. Would he have been in a good team? He seemed to be always trying to do something which wasn't there, and he was always almost there. I think at some stage he was decided he goes to Ferrari, then the last minute Kimi got that cockpit. It was always, he was always almost there, but never really there. So I think he's very good, and obviously now he's getting older, and at some stage, we all get slower, So, but I think he's still a good driver, and when he came back, he surprised me how good he was. And Kevin, I think a motivated Kevin is a very good, solid driver. An unmotivated Kevin is just like he's just down on himself. If the car is not good, Kevin just struggles with it, to motivate himself to get the best out of him. But with a good car, he can do good things.
And so, looking closely at the team that you used to manage, next year, they're opting for an entirely fresh driver pairing with Esteban Ocon and Oliver Behrman. And that's kind of a very different strategy for what you opted for last year with having the experienced duo of Magnussen and Hülkenberg. What do you think of the choice that they've made? And how do you see that new driver pairing changing the performance of Haas next year?
I would say the Oliver Behrman, that was decided already, or not decided, the plan was already last year. Last year, 2 FP1s, I did that with Fred Vasseur. That was 2 FP1s last year, 6 FP1s this year. And then if he is doing good, he was already decided that he would be in the car 25. My plan at the time was to have him alongside Nico Hülkenberg, so he can grow with a very solid reference, which is Nico, because a young driver needs a reference. Because I learned that 2 rookie drivers doesn't work because you don't know what they're doing, So I think that was the plan. So I think Collie Behrman, he did very well. He's doing very well. He's a talent. How good can he be world champion? We will find out in 2-3 years. Esteban Ocon, I know him. I would say he's a good driver. I don't think he's a world champion material, but I think he had always issues with the teammate, and it's something. Do you want to bring that into the team? I mean, I'm not. I don't think I would have taken him. I would have tried to keep Hülkenberg.
Okay, interesting. And so, moving on from good drivers, I want to talk about the Sergio Perez situation. I'm joking. But on a more serious note, you've had experience of having a driver that maybe hasn't necessarily performed in the way the team needs them. And it does look like Red Bull's not going to get the constructors this year. And Max Verstappen is going to get the drivers. So what do you make of the decision as it stands to keep Perez in the second Red Bull seat?
I was pretty convinced, and I got rumors that before the summer break that Checo will not come back after the summer, but then it was decided he stays. So I don't know why that decision was taken. I mean, obviously we know what was said publicly about it, but I do not think that he's at Red Bull anymore next year. That's my opinion, because obviously, as you said, the Constructors' Championship, it's a very important championship, and you cannot. For a team to win one is very difficult, and there's not many opportunities. And losing it like this, it's a little bit sad almost, So, and I rate Checo Perez. I mean, I spoke with him a few times to come and drive for Haas. We never got it done, and he's a good driver. But I think he just cannot deal with being in the same team like with Max anymore, and with the criticism, and with always being asked why you're not winning, why you're not doing this. And I think at some stage you just give in, and he cannot do it mentally anymore. That's my opinion about it. And I think, in my opinion, he maybe even decides to stop end of the year, because it cannot be. I mean, guys, put yourself in his shoes. I mean, talking about criticism, what he gets every weekend is not something you can take lightly. When everybody blames you that they didn't win the World Championship for constructors this year. And it's very important. And a lot of people say it's because of the money, but Red Bull doesn't need money. Red Bull want to win championships, so it's not about the money.
Yeah. And so earlier you mentioned that Nico Hülkenberg moving to Audi, he's getting older, he might get slower. So on a related note, being brutally honest, do you think that Fernando Alonso is ever going to win his third Drivers' Championship? Or that Lewis Hamilton, as much as it breaks my heart, will not win his 8th Drivers' Championship?
I can tell you, Fernando will not win another championship. Lewis, you never know, because it's difficult to say with Ferrari. If they get into the car in the moment, the Ferrari is pretty good, and Lewis for sure gets a motivation. And Lewis is a very good driver, very good race car driver, If Lewis gets the motivation and sees that he can do it, he will try to win it. Obviously, all the stars needs to align, but it is possible that he can win it with Ferrari. And I think about the story for Formula One, what that would be, we just will know next year how good the new Ferrari is. And but if the Ferrari is good, I think he will fight for it. And he's very good. If he has got a good car as a race car driver in the race, how to. He very rarely makes mistakes, which is one of the strong points of Lewis. He very rarely makes mistakes. And to be world champion, that is one of the things you need to have in you, that you rarely make mistakes. I mean, look at Lando Norris. I think Lando Norris could have done a lot more, but he made too many mistakes. I think he's fast, he has the talent, everything, but just made too many mistakes. And that is one of the things you need to overcome. And there's 2 guys or 3 guys out there which are very good at that. Is Alonso, Lewis, and Max Verstappen. They're the 3 best drivers. I said Alonso cannot win it because the moment in the car he's in, he cannot do it. And at some stage, I mean, he's almost mid-40s, time is running out.
Yeah. And so, next year is looking to be very exciting. We've got Lewis Hamilton moving to Ferrari. We've got Newey to Aston Martin. And we've got, new faces like Behrman on track. So what are you looking forward to most for next season? And which team do you think is going to have strongest car and strongest driver pairing?
I think after this year, or what is happening in the moment, next year will be, this year, 7 different driver won races, 4 different manufacturer won races. You will not have more of that, but I think next year will start like this, because the cars next year, there will be not big development steps, because everybody next year will start on a 26 car as soon as they can, put the resources onto that one. So, but it will be a very interesting championship. Which one will be the best car? I would say, I think McLaren has understood these regulations very well, so I think they are strong, but also the other ones are catching up. So it will be between the 4, the normal 4, the championship. Who has got the best driver pairing? I think McLaren has got a very strong one, if Lando stops to make mistakes, you know. But Ferrari with Charles and Lewis has got a very strong team. Obviously, I don't know who will be driving the Red Bull. The second Red Bull next year, I have no idea who is coming in there. And Mercedes, obviously, they have got Kimi Antonelli, which is 18 years old. And, you know, we can have expectations, but you cannot expect that he's at the level like a Ferrari team, which has got Charles there, which is there since years, and Lewis, which has won 7 World Championships. So I think they are a little bit behind driver pairing-wise, but otherwise, they are all 4 in a very good position.
Mm. And so looking forward, you mentioned 2026. Audi is entering the sports, taking over Sauber, with Mattia Binotto as CEO and CTO, and Jonathan Wheatley as their team principal, and Hülkenberg is obviously driving as well. As someone who had an experience building a new F1 team, what advice would you give to Binotto and Wheatley for helping the new Audi team be as successful as possible, but also as quickly as possible?
I keep out of giving people advice which did bigger jobs than me, like Mattia. Mattia is a friend, and I speak with him weekly, but I don't think he needs advice. What I see there, it's they have got a steep mountain to climb. I mean, looking where they are now, Sauber, it's quite, you know, they're half a second of second last, you know, which is quite a way behind. So I think the focus from them will be on 26 next year. For them will be just another season to get by. And get their drivers in tune with the team, strengthen the team with more people, better people, you know, and that I think what Mattia is doing, getting processes in to the company, like he had at Ferrari, you know, which was a bigger team, because going from a Sauber, which was called a private team, a smaller team, to an Audi, which is a works team, and we never have to forget, Volkswagen is the second biggest car manufacturer in the world. You know, they cannot come in and finish 8th or 9th. I mean, that's not good enough for them. But it is. They've got a steep mountain to climb, and I think they got a little bit behind. They had already. It's their 2nd year as Audi, and instead of going forward, they went backwards. So I think they fell behind. But the only thing Jonathan and Mattia can do is just work hard and try to get good people around them to move the team forward. You know, so. Obviously, would have been good if they could have got Adrian in there, but he decided to go to Aston Martin, because what a guy like Adrian does is he attracts other good people. If good people is on the market and they see Adrian Newey is there, it gives you immediately, oh, I want to work for this team. It's like when a team has got a good driver, you know, you take on a good driver. A lot of people, engineers, mechanics, they say the good ones say, oh, I want to go to this team because they make the right moves to get the best people on the market, you know. And I think Audi has missed out a little bit on that one. But that's the only thing they can do, try to get as many good people as possible, because neither Mattia nor Jonathan can do it on their own. They need people there.
Brilliant. And last question for me, before we open up to members. Who's your... Well, a bit cheeky, but who is your least favorite driver on the grid? Yeah, and who's your least favorite team principal as well?
I love them all. I love them all.
Okay, fine. Who is your favorite then?
Who? Of team principal, I mean, I would say...
Other than yourself?
Yeah. I love myself. How did you know that I love myself? I would say Mattia and Toto, they are friends, you know, they are friends, and therefore I get on with them. And also Fred, I mean, all 3 of them are, you know, you've got friends, you cannot say you're the better friend or you're the not as good friend. Them 3 are friends because they're there a long time, and I had a lot of interactions with them. And I always, when I go to the races, I go and see them, all 3 of them. So, and the drivers, I would say my best friend there now is maybe Nico Hülkenberg. We get on very well, and we always speak when we see each other, even we call each other. So it's my best friend, yeah.